The camera moves slowly, 40 meters down, pitch black except for the beam of a single ROV light cutting through water that hasn't been disturbed in decades. And then something moves. Not a fish, not debris shifting in the current. Something deliberate. Something that crosses a corridor, pauses, and appears to turn toward the camera. The dive team watching the live feed went completely silent. What you are about to see is real footage. The explanations are still being debated. Every year, remotely operated vehicles descend into the darkness of the ocean floor to explore what human hands cannot reach. These machines are built for science, equipped with high-definition cameras, sonar arrays, and precision lighting systems designed to capture everything in clinical detail. They are not built for what some of them have recorded. Since the early 2000s, a handful of deep-sea wreck expeditions have returned with footage that split the research community. Not over biology, not over geology, over something far harder to categorize. Shadows that move against the current, shapes that appear in sealed compartments, and in at least 3 documented cases, what appear to be human silhouettes, standing perfectly still in spaces no living person has entered in over half a century. We're going to examine what the footage actually shows, what scientists have said, and why. Even with every rational explanation on the table, some of these images refuse to be explained away. The ocean has always kept secrets, but some of them, it seems, are starting to surface. In 2009, a research team deployed an ROV to survey the interior of a German cargo vessel that sank in the Baltic Sea during the Second World War. The wreck sat at roughly 85 meters, deep enough that no sport diver had ever entered it. Corridors intact, bulkheads sealed at both ends. The ROV entered through a breach near the stern. For 11 minutes, everything was exactly what you'd expect. Rusted walls, sediment, fish darting away from the light. Then the ROV rounded a corner into what had been the crew quarters. At the far end of the corridor, approximately 14 meters from the camera, there's a shape, vertical, roughly human in proportion. It does not move for 6 seconds. Then, frame by frame, it retreats. Not floating, not drifting, moving backward in a controlled line until the darkness swallows it completely. The leading theory was a buoyancy artifact, trapped gas interacting with debris to create a coincidental silhouette. The team's lead videographer filed a separate report noting the shape maintained consistent vertical orientation throughout, something a gas debris interaction will be physically unlikely to do in a sealed corridor with no current. The footage reached a maritime research forum in 2011. Within 48 hours, 2 million views. The official position, unexplained but likely natural. Watch in the dark and form your own conclusion. But the Baltic case is not the most documented. There's a second wreck, a second set of footage, and unlike the Baltic corridor, this one has a face. In 2014, a recreational dive team exploring a wreck off Malta captured something on their GoPro that would reach forensic image analysis forums across the internet. The wreck was a small passenger ferry, sunk in the 1970s, well documented, regularly dived. During a routine pass along the port side, the camera panned across a row of sealed portholes, standard footage, until frame 1847. In one porthole, behind glass that had not been opened in over 40 years. There is a face, not a reflection. The angle eliminates that, not a mask. The features are too dynamic, the shadows too natural. A pale, partially obscured face, pressed against the inside of the glass, looking out. 2 independent forensic imaging specialists reviewed it. The first, pareidolia, the brain finding faces in random patterns, barnacle growth and sediment shadow. The second disagreed, noting bilateral facial symmetry inconsistent with random organic growth, and called for further investigation. Further investigation never happened. The site was closed shortly after for unrelated structural safety reasons. The ferry remains on the bottom, portholes sealed, in 22 meters of water just off the Maltese coast. Here is what makes these cases more than isolated curiosities. ROV operators, People who spend careers in cold, analytical environments report a consistent phenomenon when working inside deep-sea wrecks. Not ghosts, not voices, something more subtle, and in some ways more disturbing. The feeling of being watched. Multiple operators across unconnected expeditions have noted it in their logs. A reluctance to push the ROV forward. A sense irrational. They all acknowledge that the camera is being observed from within the wreck, not simply recording it. Dr. Elena Marsh, a marine psychologist, has written about what she calls environmental imprinting, the theory that extreme, isolated environments like shipwrecks generate psychological pressure that manifests as anomalous perception. The mind, confronted with a space defined by catastrophe and death, begins to populate it. Compelling. It may explain a great deal, but it does not explain the Baltic corridor. It does not explain the porthole photograph. And it does not explain the third case, one that Dr. Marsh herself, when asked directly, declined to comment on. In 2018, an ROV team working a deep Pacific wreck at 2,200 meters recorded something no researcher has satisfactorily explained. A light coming from inside the wreck. Not the ROV's own light reflected back, confirmed, as the ROV was outside the hull during recording. Not bioluminescence. Wrong spectral signature, and the light held perfectly still for over 3 minutes before it moved. A stationary, white, contained light source inside a sealed wreck at 2,200 meters in a vessel with no power since 1943. Reviewed by the expedition team, the scientific board, and an independent panel. None produced an explanation that satisfied all technical parameters. The lead researcher gave one statement before the organization went silent. We recorded something we don't have a framework for. That doesn't mean it's supernatural. It means we don't have a framework for it yet. The footage has never been publicly released. The ocean covers more than 70% of this planet. We have sent humans to the moon more times than we have visited the deepest point of our own ocean floor. Down there sit thousands of wrecks. Ships that went down with their crews. Vessels that sank so fast there was no time to escape. Spaces sealed for decades, some for over a century, holding whatever was inside them when the water rushed in. Most of the time, the footage comes back with what we expect. Rust, sediment, silence. But sometimes it comes back with something else. Something that makes experienced researchers go quiet. Something that lingers just long enough to be undeniable, and not quite long enough to be explained. The sea does not give up its dead easily. And if what some of this footage suggests is true, perhaps, in some form we don't yet understand, it doesn't give them up at all. What do you believe is down there? Tell me in the comments. And if you're watching this alone, maybe leave the lights on.